2022 was the year that I became a reader, I guess you would say. Like, I never was a big fan of reading because I was a slow reader and it was very discouraging. And then in 2021, I read one book, which was The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, and I loved it. I was like, this is so good. I'm gonna be a reader. Anyway, that was June of 2021, and the next book I started right after this book in June of 2021, and I didn't finish it until January of 2022. Somehow, I ended up reading 69 books this year. So I think it'll be interesting to see, kind of like as like a first year like bookworm, how I've grown. Like, I look at like what I read in January and I was like, would I still rate it the same? I honestly have no idea, and I don't feel like rereading every book I read at the beginning of the year to see if I would rate it the same. So we're gonna go through every book I've read this year, and I'll let you know my thoughts, I guess. Okay, so the book I started in June of 2021 that I didn't finish until January is One Day in December by Josie Silver. I give this 2 stars. Honestly, did I give it a fair chance? Probably not. It took me so long to get through it and I thought it was kind of boring. But I know a lot of people really like it. I saw a TikTok about it and that's like why I read it. Same with like The Unhoneymooners. I saw a TikTok about it and I was like, this is amazing. I'm gonna read it. And so then I read it and I was like, it was very underwhelming. But it took me forever to get through, and like I more than likely forgot the majority of the things that happened in this book. So then I started my Colleen Hoover thing. So like my birthday's in January, and for my birthday, oddly enough, I asked for books, which was like really out of character for me, but my mom's like, I'll get you books, of course I will. And so then I got It Ends With Us, and this is like kind of what like started my real love for reading. Like after reading this, I was like, oh my gosh, I need more. So I have It Ends With Us. I really liked it and I gave it 5 stars. And I know a lot of people like don't like Colleen Hoover at the moment, but she got me into reading. I will always like it, and I think there's always like twists and turns in her books and I enjoy them personally. And then I also read Ugly Love like right after, and I also loved it and I bawled my eyes out and I gave it 5 stars. Would I give it 5 stars now? I don't know, but it got me into reading and I appreciate it. Then I read The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune, and I think I gave this 3 stars. I didn't love it as much. I think it was very different than anything I had read. Like, I'd only read like contemporary romances before. And so I tried this. This is like kind of reminds me of like Miss Peregrine's House Home for Peculiar Children. You know that movie? I don't know, it was probably a book too. But that's kind of like what it reminded me of. It's a cute little like fantasy. Like. Then I read One of Us is Lying by Karen and McManus. I think I gave this 3 stars because I thought it was really predictable. It's a mystery kind of young adult thing. Then I read Verity by Colleen Hoover and I gave it 4 stars. It really messed with my head. It really did. I did not expect like the ending, and yeah, I give it 4 stars because I don't think I'm a big thriller girly. I'm not a big thriller gal. Anyway, next I read Heartbones. I think I give this 4 stars also, and it really bothers me because it's like taller than every other Colleen book. Like it's like, and it's really annoying. But I really liked it. I mean, what can I say? I was a big stan. And then I read Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. See, here's the thing. I read Colleen Hoover. I liked Colleen Hoover, so I continued to read her books because I knew I'd like them. Anyway, I give this 4 stars, but it was like the only book I read in March. Then I started to branch out, and I was like, let me see what other books are out there that I've seen on TikTok. Like the other books that aren't by Colleen Hoover that I've read so far or whatever, they were books I saw on TikTok in 2021 that I bought and never read. So this is one that I saw in 2022. I was like, I'm gonna read it. It sounds really interesting. And that was The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and I loved it. This is a 5-star read. I still think about it. I bawled my eyes out reading it. It is so good. It's like takes place in like the 50s and 60s, and it's like if like Elizabeth Taylor is like based on her, and like she had 7 husbands, and it's like the story of like why she had 7 husbands. Were they marriage of convenience, marriage of love, marriage of but it was really good. I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. Then I read The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I also gave this 5 stars. It's a really cute romance. What can I say? I was a big fan. But I think I also rated a lot of things high at the beginning of the year. But this was really good. Then I went back to Colleen and I read November 9th. This is one of my favorite Colleen books. I loved it. 5 stars. Oh, the plot twist. Oh. And I mean, I hear a lot of people say this book is just like super messed up. And like, yeah, it is. But like, that's the whole point. Right? Next I read People We Meet on Vacation. I think I gave this 3 stars. I don't really remember it. I don't remember what happens. I don't know. Not a big fan of her writing. Don't come for me. It's just my opinion. Okay. Then I read All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. I promise there's more in this video than Colleen. Anyway, this book is like really sad. And I remember just being really sad the whole time reading it. But I liked it. And I gave it 5 stars, I think. Then I read Confess by Colleen. And I gave this 3 or 4 stars. 4 stars, I think. I don't know. It's not one of her more memorable books, but... Then I read Beach Read. It's a little more memorable than People We Meet on Vacation. I liked it a little more, and I gave it 4 stars. But, I don't think Emily Henry is like her writing. I don't think it's for me, but don't come for me because I know a lot of people really like her books. Then I read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, and I gave it 3 stars. It like has beautiful quotes in it, right? Really good writing. I just didn't connect with the story of Achilles and what was his name? Patroclus. I know I didn't really connect, but I know a lot of people loved it. If you're into Greek mythology, I think you'd like it. And then I read Normal People by Sally Rooney, and I love this book. It is so good, and I'm currently watching the TV show that they made out of it, and it's good. I think it's a hit or miss book, and it hit for me. And then I read 11 Other Words by Christina Lauren. It is so good. I mean, it is so good. It's sad. I read it on the beach. The other book I took with me on vacation was Where the Crawdads Sing. I read this because the movie was coming out and Taylor Swift had a song in the movie, Carolina. So I wanted to read it because she liked the book. But I think I gave it 4 stars. I don't know. I feel like I would have been confused watching the movie if I didn't read the book. The next book is my favorite. My favorite book. Daisy Jones and the Six. Beautiful. Breathtaking. Magnificent. I love this book. I think everyone should read it. It kind of goes along with like The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Like you don't have to read both. But like I would. They're coming out with a TV show. And it's like this band taking place in the 70s. Them making an album, going on tour. And it's only dialogue. The whole entire book is just dialogue. And it is so good. So good, and I think everybody should read it because, I mean, it's my favorite book. I read The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, and I gave it 4 stars. I know, it's cute. It's cute romance. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I loved it until the ending. And then I hated it. So that's why it had 3 stars. There's parts of it that are really slow. But I was willing to look past that because there were other parts of it that I was like eating it up. I was like, this is so good. And then the ending happened. And I was like, oh, no, nuh-uh. That's not what's supposed to happen. In my head, that's not the ending I wanted. Falling Toward the Moon. It's like a 2.5 star. It's poems. I liked half of it. And then the second half is written by someone else. And I was just like, you think you know me, but you don't. It was my reaction to that. Then I read Red, White, and Royal Blue. This is 5 star. It's so good. It is so good. I made my friends read it, and they liked it also. So right here, we have the first female president's son, and we have a prince of England, and they fall in love. It is so good. We have 2 a.m. Thoughts by Mackenzie Campbell. It's poems again. And I think I give 2.5 or 3 stars. Some of them were really good, and then others just fell flat. So Little Women. So Little Women has like always been my favorite movie. So I read the book Little Women, and it's like this very beautiful version of it. And it took forever to get through. I didn't realize how long Little Women is. It's like really, really long. It's because it was originally 2 books turned into 1. Give it 4 stars. Okay, Lease on Love. I gave this 3 stars. It's really flappy though, and I really love that. It like is such a millennial read. If you're a millennial, I'm sure you're gonna like it, but it's making fun of Gen Z or whatever, but I looked past it, okay? And it was like really cute for like the majority of it, and then all of a sudden like the big twist or whatever, like the big 3rd act conflict, like, I thought it was really stupid. And I didn't understand what the problem was, but apparently there was a problem there. Next, I read The Inheritance Games. It is so good. It gives off like the first Knives Out, and it's really good, and it's like mysterious, and it kind of gives off that dark academia vibe, even though it's not really dark academia, because it like takes place in like this mansion. It's really good. I don't know, I liked it. 5 stars. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I give it 5 stars, and we are all shocked. Anyway, it's my 3rd book I read by her, and this one I started to tab. This one takes place in the 80s, and there's this really famous family that throws parties, and it's really good. Then I read another 5-star read. This was a really good book for me. Like, there's 3 5-star reads in a row. This is the 2nd book. This is the Hawthorne Legacy, and I think I liked it even more than the Inheritance Games. It's really good. 5 stars. It happened one summer. I loved it. Also, I gave it 5 stars. From what I've heard, I haven't seen Schitt's Creek, but I heard it's like Schitt's Creek. It's Grumpy Sunshine, but it was like so well done. Samaritan Pretty. I watched the TV show before I read the books, and the show was better than the books. Books were okay. They were pretty mid. I gave it 3 stars. Then I read the 2nd book. Once again, it's 3 stars. I think it's pretty mid. And so then I took a break from the 3rd book because I didn't want to read it. And what did you look at that? We have Without Merit by Colleen Hoover. This book, I see so many people say it's just so messed up and that they didn't like it because of that. But like, that's the point. That's the point of the book, is to be messed up, or else you don't have a plot. Anyway, I give it 4 stars. Then I read Dance of Thieves. And I tabbed it, alright. I loved it. Dance of Thieves is so good. I remember loving it. It's fantasy. Enemies to Lovers. Then I read The Final Gambit because it had I read the first 2 books before this one came out. It wasn't as good as the first 2, but I still liked it. But I think I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, I didn't like this book. I gave it 1 star. It's very dated. The writing is dated. It was, what, 2012, 2013? There's like Harry Potter fan fiction in here, but it's not Harry Potter, it's Simon Snow. The clothes it says she's wearing, I'm like, that right there, that's disgusting. But it's like a freshman in college, and she's like making friends in her life and stuff, and my mom's like, you should read that, you're a freshman in college. Spindle Splintered. I read by Alex E. Harrow. I had to read it I didn't have to read it. I joined a book club, and this was the first pick. And it's really short, and there are so many pictures. That page somehow doesn't have pictures. There's so many pictures, and they take up a lot of space, and it's already a really short book. It's like if Sleeping Beauty was different. I don't know. It's a different twist on Sleeping Beauty, but I didn't really like it. Then I read Love on the Brain. I give it 4 stars. I really liked it. It's fast-paced, and I really like Ali Hazelwood's writing. But the Galaxy leggings, that's what took it down from a 5-star to a 4. Also, the ending, like, came out of nowhere. But, like, it was entertaining. Then I read In Watermelon Sugar by Richard Brodigan. Yeah, so Harry Styles, right? That's why I read it. This book is oddly really comforting, and I would recommend it. It's really short. It's oddly comforting. Then I read We'll Always Have Summer. This 3rd book in the Samaritan Pretty series, and I gave it 3 stars. I gave like that whole series. But this book, the storyline, I think she got bored, and she's like, what could I do that's just gonna be really random? I didn't like the storyline of this book, but I liked the ending. 3 stars. Then I read The Fine Print by Lauren Asher, and I thought it was good. I liked it. Grumpy Sunshine. I want to continue reading the series, but I haven't yet. 4 stars. Then I started the Shatter Me series. This book is not that great. I gave it 3 stars, but I saw the potential. But it's like if she touches people, they die. It's a dystopian series. It's really good. The first book, I gave 3 stars. I didn't like it that much, but I just saw the potential. Then I read Layla by Colleen Hoover. This book, I didn't like. Gave it 2 stars. I liked the beginning, I liked the end, but I hated everything in between. Next I read Vow of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I tabbed it. This book, I think I liked it even more than Dance of Thieves. It was so good. And it's like book 2 of The Enemies to Lovers, but then there's so many problems in this book, and I loved it. It was so good. And then I read Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I thought it was a little bit predictable. I saw what was coming. Anyway, this takes place in the 90s. Carrie Soto is a tennis player. There's a lot of tennis talk, which is a little boring, but like overall it's a really good story about like becoming a better person. Next, I read Funny You Should Ask by Alyssa Sussman. I think this was like Chris Evans fan fiction turned into a book, and I thought it was cute. I gave it 4 stars. Oh, this is when I finally like got all of the Shatter Me books and continued the Shatter Me series. I read Destroy Me, which is a novella. Okay, it wasn't really, I gave it 4 stars, I want to say, and I was like, ooh, I'm glad I kept going. And then I read Unravel Me, and this is where it gets so good. This is where, this is the second book. And I recommend you read the novellas because the novellas have a lot of stuff in them that you wouldn't get if you just read the books. I don't know. But this book was really good. But I didn't give it 5 stars. I gave it like 4.5. I feel like this is when I started becoming like tougher on my ratings of books. Because there were just some parts that I was like, this is so stupid. And like they made me mad. But like to my core, I loved it. So there we go. It Starts With Us came out and I read it and I was disappointed like everyone else in the world. I gave it 3 stars, 2.5, 3. I don't know, it didn't need to be written. It's like a really long epilogue. It focuses more on Atlas, and I always thought Atlas was kind of boring. Then I read The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. I think I gave it 4 stars. Oh, I read it in like October because I was like, ooh, Halloween, ghosts. It takes place in April. It's not very spooky. Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I read this because Joe Alwyn. Okay, I goofed. Before I read Conversations with Friends, I read Fracture Me, which is the this has 2 novellas in it. And then I read Archer's Voice, which I tabbed and I loved. It's so good and I wish I read it sooner. Archer's Voice was really good and it was really cute and it also makes you feel really sad. I gave it 5 stars, so it was so good. Then I read the 3rd book in the Shatter Me series, Ignite Me, and this was 5 stars. Then I read The Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. This was like popular when I was younger, and I didn't like to read when I was younger, so I read this and I gave it 4 stars, I think. It's cute. Twisted Love by Anna Huang. This book had so much potential and then it let me down. Okay, I don't know what I gave this. 3 stars, 2 stars. Did I give it 2? I probably gave it 2. I gave it 2 stars. Okay, so like I started tabbing at the beginning and I gave up because I don't know, I just wasn't a big fan of where it headed. Like at first I was just like, oh, it's just a romance book, and then I didn't know it was a dark romance book, and I bought the 2nd book. I hope the 2nd book is better. And then I read Exit West by Mohsin Hamid. I had to read this for school, and it is tabbed like crazy because I had to write an essay on it. 2 stars. I didn't really recommend. I didn't really like it, but I had to read it, and I thought I would include it because I did end up reading the whole thing. There's another book that I had to read for that class. I didn't read the whole thing. It's not in this video. Then there's I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Okay, I feel like I shouldn't be reading a memoir because that's literally her life. But like it has some interesting things. It's a good read. If you like grew up watching iCarly, there's some good stuff in here. Then I read Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, the second book after it happened one summer. And I've read it so far after. And it was cute. I gave it 4 stars. It was a cute romance. And I read Hopeless. This is one of my favorite books by her. But the thing is, I say this is one of my favorite books by her, but I only gave it 4 stars. So I think that shows how much my taste has changed even over the year. I was expecting it to be a cute romance. I don't know why I was expecting that. I've read her stuff before. It's never a cute romance, even though it's marketed as that. This is deep. This is sad. So much happens in this book. It's crazy. Then I read Restore Me. This is in the Shatter Me series. This is book 4. I don't remember what I rated this, honestly. I think I gave it 5 stars. Oh, I only gave it 4 stars. Oh, that's a shame. It was 4 stars. Oh, yeah. No, it wasn't nearly as entertaining as the 3rd book. Then I read Shadow Me, which is a novella. 4 stars again. Losing Hope. I gave it 5 stars. Okay, so this is Hopeless, but in the male's perspective. And I was like, that is so stupid. I'm not going to read the same book twice, but it's not. And I think it really builds and adds to the story. I would definitely recommend reading Losing Hope. And I liked it even more than Hopeless. I gave it 5 stars. And then I read Finding Cinderella, which is like the novella that comes after, and it's like with different people. I gave this 3 stars. I don't know, it wasn't my favorite, but like it was still cute, I guess. And then next in the series is All Your Perfects, which I read at the beginning. And so then I read Finding Perfect, which connects Finding Cinderella and All Your Perfects together. I gave it 4 stars. So next I read Defy Me, which is this the 5th book in the series? And I think I gave it 5 stars. I really liked the ending. Like, this was the best ending out of all the Shatter Me books so far. I haven't finished the last book. But, I really liked the ending of this. It was really good. I think I gave this 5 stars. It was so good. And then I read Reveal Me. And I more than likely gave it 4 stars. I don't really remember. And then last but certainly not least, definitely not least, I read The Great Gatsby. And so I didn't read that in high school, but I know a lot of people did, and a lot of people felt the need to comment that they read it in high school, but I did not. So leave me out. Anyway, yeah, I read The Great Gatsby, and I really liked it. And I watched the movie, and the movie's also so good. It's a really great book, and I wish I would have read it in high school, I think. No, I didn't. No, if I would have read it in high school, I wouldn't have liked it. That's just how it is. But since I read it in my free time, you know, I feel like such an intellectual being like, yeah, I read a classic for fun. I think I'm going to read better books in 2023. I feel like some of my readings now were a little shallow. That's a terrible way to put it. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I feel like people are going to like see what I read and they're going to be like, oh, not much variety is there, and that's like true. But like I'm looking at my TBR for next year and I'm so excited to get into these different worlds and different books, and I think it's going to be a much more interesting video next year, and I hope you guys join me for the ride. The first half, like over the first half of the year, I stuck to what I knew I would like, and I think now that I'm more comfortable with reading, I think I'm going to branch out more. Like, who would have thought I would have read a classic? Like, I mean, I read Little Women, but like Little Women was my favorite movie. Who would have thought I would have read this not knowing what it's about and then loving it? Like, Anyway, I hoped you liked seeing my evolution of reading.